What hair looks like after slavery. Transatlantic slave trade. The transatlantic slave trade by the European changes everything for Central and West Africans. Let's briefly talk about the transatlantic slave trade. The Portuguese and later the English, the French, and the Dutch got involved in enslaving Africans in large parts of West Africa, the Gulf Coast of Guyana, and the Congo River Basin, were significant areas of human exports to the Americas, mostly to sugar plantations in the Caribbean. By the late 17th century, the so-called triangle trade developed. European ships loaded with guns, textiles, tobacco, and manufacturing goods sailed to Africa's slave ports and traded those goods for captives. European slave traders then took those Africans to the New World where they were sold. With that money, the European purchased staples such as sugar, tobacco, rum, and coffee, then sold for enormous profits back in Europe. The profits was often reinvested in other goods to be traded for captives back in Africa and so on. If you want more in-depth information on the transatlantic slave trade, I recommend you read Hugh Thomas' book titled The Slave Trade, the story of the Atlantic slave trade 1440 through 1870. This is a thick book, roughly 912 pages, and worth sacrificing some of your time to read. The book is almost the same price as a supersized combo from a fast food restaurant, destroying the image of African hair. Europeans who had traded and communicated with Africans knew the complexity and the significance of black hair. They were often struck by the various hairstyles that they saw within each community. In an effort to dehumanize and break the African spirit, Europeans shaved the heads of enslaved Africans upon arrival to the Americas. This was not merely a random act, but a symbolic removal of African culture. The shaving of the hair represents the removal of any trace of African identity and further acts to dehumanize.
Anytime that we in VIP, they say the zoo in town. Turkey sellers, fences going wild, yeah, doing clowns. Monkey niggas talking shit, I can make them see. Have my Africans eat his face like he's some bush meat. Animals, we animals, nah, we ain't playing fair. Dog show, got 20 pretty bitches prancing over here, sweating like a dog, and I need my H2O. I'ma grab your ass and kick you good before the night is over. We gon' need about 30 bottles, jungle juice is going on. Sharamo and Rose women, whatever they pouring on. Bite that pill and tranquilize. Now they got that monkey loose. She fuck gorillas, we gorillas, then you and your monkey crew. I'm going, I'm going, I'm going out. 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 I'm going, I'm going, I'm going out.
Peace, everybody. What's going on? What's good out there in these streets? Your boy Sean P in the place to be, man. Like the stream, share the stream, tell a friend. We're live. I got a nice little impactful show, very informative, and bound to educate the ignorance, right? So I'm doing this on this channel because there's a video that I actually want to play, and I don't want I don't want to get Marcy a strike or anything like that. So if a strike comes of it. So I'm here today. I don't expect a large crowd. I don't even know what's going on in these streets. I just was told that people are preparing for some kind of debate. I don't know what, what the hell could be getting debated right now, but more power to those involved in that, and hopefully all is well. Um, I apologize, how disconnected that I am. However, we're gonna get this thing cracking, man. I don't want to waste too many people's time, so like the show, share the show, tell a friend we're live. Peace A6, Edward 9x9, Sutek in the building. I see you, chill. You in the building. I don't know how long you're gonna be in the building, but there's this thing called Aboriginal science, chill, and they did a show with your boy, man, Ali Baba Muhammad, as what they call him, and in that show they talked about Aboriginal science and how anti out of Africa or anti-science or anti this, that, and the third they were, out of ignorance. And yeah, we gotta deal with it the way it needs to be dealt with. So we'll see what comes of it, man. But I'm here for all the smoke. You know what I'm saying? I don't know who's going to join or who's live or whatever the case may be, but we're gonna get it in. I do see a few people kind of coming in, so I'm kind of winging back just a bit, and we're gonna get directly to it. So I'm gonna go start the video because it's the right, man. And by the time other people get in here, I can get into building out. Everything that you'll see in this build is in the description of the video. So if you ever need a resource to combat some ignorance, some tomfoolery, or you want to get some evidence to substantiate whatever situation that you're in, it'll be here in the description of the actual video. So let me go ahead and you get this on the screen for everybody, man. And it's not long. It's about a 20-minute video. The reason that I'm actually going to show you this particular video is because of its impact. And then we're going to build on it from there. So I got the video right where I need it. It looked like the New York Knicks is holding this L, and Miami is going to win the game, and this season is over. So here we go.
Good afternoon. I'm Katerina Harvati, and it's a pleasure to be here. And as already mentioned, I'd like to talk today about the modern human expansion out of Africa. So as we already heard today, modern humans first evolved in Africa, with the earliest representatives of our species already found more than 300 or close to 300,000 years ago. However, today we exist everywhere on the globe as extremely geographically widespread and ecologically tolerant species. And one of the central questions in modern human origins research, aside from pinpointing the time and place of origin, is also how this situation came to exist. So important questions, for example, include when and how did Homo sapiens disperse out of the African continent? What were the critical factors enabling this dispersal, whether they might be ecological or demographic, social, cultural, technological? What was the possible interaction between early modern humans dispersing out of Africa and archaic hominins already living in Eurasia? And what are the possible impacts that this might have had? And so on. But the very first question that we must answer before addressing anything else is, when and how did Homo sapiens disperse out of Africa? And this is what I'd like to talk about today. So what do we know? As we heard in the previous talk, early modern humans emerge in Africa starting around 300,000 years ago and are found all over the continent. But at this time, during this time frame, we also have archaic hominins, other species that exist in Eurasia. So we have the Neanderthal evolution taking place in Western Eurasia, starting already before 300,000 years ago and ending with the Neanderthal disappearance around 39,000 years ago. We also have Denisovans that exist in East Asia, possibly also in Southeast Asia, and we have late surviving Homo erectus in Southeast Asia. We also know that the main expansion of Homo sapiens out of Africa started between 70 and 50,000 years before present, with modern humans reaching Australia as early as 50,000 years ago, and then slightly later reaching northern parts of East Asia as well as Europe around 45,000 years ago, finally arriving in the New World around between 20 and 15,000 years before present, and from there really covering the rest of the planet. And this dispersal really sets the stage for the world as we know it today. However, the story is not so simple. We have known for many years that Homo sapiens dispersed out of Africa already in an earlier migration wave. We have evidence from the Near East, from the sites of School and Kapse, that shows early Homo sapiens arriving there between 130 and 100,000 years before present. Recent evidence from a nearby Mislia cave site has put this early dispersal of Homo sapiens into the Levant at an even earlier date, close to 180,000 years before present. What's more, in later periods, so after 100,000, there are Neanderthals found in the same region, and no longer early modern humans, suggesting that these early Homo sapiens did not persist in the long term in this region, but they were rather perhaps replaced by Neanderthals here, until the later main out of Africa dispersal at 60,000 years before present. So what do we know about this early Homo sapiens dispersal? We know that it reached the Levant, possibly as early as 180,000 years before present. We generally consider it a failed dispersal, meaning that the populations of early modern humans did not actually stay, did not persist, did not survive in the long term, but were probably replaced by Neanderthals. This kind of dispersal might have been enabled by environmental shifts linked to the glacial cycle, such as the one that we heard about earlier from Jean-Jacques Hublin. And we also have paleogenetic evidence that suggests an ancient interbreeding event took place between Neanderthals and early modern human ancestors even before 200,000 years before present. So all of this basically means that we have been considering the Levant as a possible contact zone between Neanderthals and modern humans, where they might have encountered one another and possibly exchanged genes at this early time, but also later on in the main out of Africa event. So this brings me to the site of Apidima and our recent work on the fossil human skulls from this site. Apidima is situated in the Mani Peninsula in southern Greece, at the southernmost point of mainland Greece that is shown here on the map inside the red circle. The site is a cave complex that was investigated in the late 1970s and 1980s by a team from the University of Athens Medical School. And it is during this work that 2 human fossil crania were discovered, encased in a block of rock, breccia rock, found in the ceiling of one of the caves, Cave A, that is shown here. Now here you see the original photograph from the late 70s showing the rock in the ceiling. You see it here in red, where the human crania are encased and as it is about to be removed. And as you can see, this block of breccia is actually rather small. And the 2 specimens were found very close to each other. The site itself could not be dated properly at the time of the discovery.
For the record, it is not me. It is not the string. It is when they recorded this originally, it had some issues like connection issues during everyone's presentation at this event. All right. So again, this is the Center for Academic Research and Training in Anthropogeny. That's why it's called CARTA. And she is presenting and talking about information about the dispersal of modern humans out of Africa. And she already told you that there was an early dispersal out of Africa, but it was short-lived until we get to that 60,000 mark where we see, right, people begin to migrate more. So there is a lot of evidence that has to be taken into account. And we cannot allow people to survive off of saying they don't believe in something. And I'm going to address that. If you don't believe in the Outer Africa theory, it doesn't require your belief. There's a shitload of evidence for the Outer Africa theory that requires you to know. So you have to review the data, and then you have to consume the data, and then you would have to attempt to falsify the evidence.
But it was estimated that the skull breccia, this piece of rock containing the human remains, was between 150 to 400,000 years old. And a few years ago, a small fragment from one of the skulls, Epidema 2, was dated to 150,000 years before present, approximately, confirming this hypothesis. So despite their obvious importance, these fossil crania themselves remained unstudied and unpublished, and very little was known about them except preliminary assessments. Previous observations were made exclusively on one of these specimens, Epidema 2, which is the one that is better preserved, so it actually has a face and most of the skull. And all these observations were based on a handful of published measurements and a couple of published photographs. And it had been noticed that the specimen has Neanderthal or pre-Neanderthal affinities, but the specimen also suffered obviously from distortion and damage after death. As you can see here, is rather crushed and distorted. So its interpretation was actually quite complicated. Now the situation was even worse for the other human specimen, Epidema 1, which is much less preserved, so there's a lot more of it missing, but it's not distorted. It was cleaned much later, so it was left inside the rock until approximately 2003, when it was cleaned and removed, and it was never described or published. No published photographs of it existed before. So approximately 2 years ago, I was approached by colleagues from the University of Athens Medical School who asked me to lead a new investigation and reanalysis of this important fossil material. So in this new analysis, what we did was we applied virtual anthropology methods to reconstruct the Epidema specimens virtually, and then we conducted exhaustive comparative analysis of their anatomy and their anatomical shape using the method.
Pay attention to what she's saying, because she is actually explaining the methodology that was actually used to substantiate the evidence. You know, you hear people talk about what was their methodology, where's the evidence, yada, 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 yada. She's educating you on how they got to what they got to out of this, right? This easy work.
Methods also mentioned previously, three-dimensional geometric morphometrics, so that we could statistically analyze their shape and elucidate their affinities. Now, because the two crania preserve mostly different parts of the cranium, we had to mostly analyze them separately. But we conducted also a combined analysis, and I'm going to show you the results of this. And finally, we also applied new uranium series dating in order to shed light on the chronology and actually test the idea that the two specimens came from the same time period. What I didn't mention before is because they were found so close together, they were generally assumed that they lived roughly at the same time and they belonged to the same species and possibly even the same group. So we conducted dating analysis of the specimens themselves also to test this idea. Was it actually true? In this slide, you see the process of reconstruction or virtual reconstruction of the specimen Epidema 2. And you see on your left side, the 3D model derived from a CT scan. And in the middle, what you see is the segmentation, the virtual dissection of every bone fragment, so that we could, in fact, isolate each bone fragment, clean the sediments from inside the cracks, and move the bone fragments back to the original correct anatomical position. And the final result you see on the other side, which is one of the reconstructions that we conducted. Because this kind of reconstruction, it could involve some error associated to different observers, we actually produced 4 different reconstructions by 2 different observers following two different criteria so that we could somehow correct for any observer error. The result was actually 4 quite similar reconstructions, and we use all of these reconstructions as well as their mean in our further analysis as individual specimens. Things were quite a lot simpler for Apithema 1. I mentioned to you before that it's not so well preserved, but it's not distorted. So the reconstruction of this specimen basically consisted of mirror imaging the better preserved side so as to have a more complete specimen to work with. So let's look at the results. Now we'll start with Apithema 2 because this is a specimen that is better known and have been studied somehow before. Its overall dimensions and cranial bone thickness indicate that it is an adult, and its linear measurements align it with Neanderthals, as it was previously stated in the literature. It has a whole suite of unique Neanderthal features present, including the morphology of its brow ridge and the morphology of the face, as well as details of its cranial anatomy. And what about if we actually statistically look at its shape? And you saw these sorts of plots before in Jean-Jacques' presentation. They are principal components analysis of 3D measurements. The one on the left is the facial, based on measurements from the face, and the other one is based on 3D measurements from the rest of the skull. And what you see here, again, as you saw before, is modern humans shown in blue and Neanderthals all the way out here shown in red. And these yellow specimens are pre-Neanderthal, so European Middle Pleistocene, and the pink ones are early African, possibly Homo sapiens ancestors. So in both of these analyses, what we see is that Apithema 2 clusters with Neanderthals or between Neanderthals and pre-Neanderthals, exactly like it had been proposed before. We conducted also a classification analysis, and here you don't have to look at these numbers, but all you need to know is that Apithema 2 was classified in almost all cases as a Neanderthal with very high probability, and only in one case as a pre-Neanderthal, a Neanderthal ancestor. So all in all, our results on this specimen agree with previous assessments of this skull. Now turning to Apithema 1, now things are a little bit different. Again, the overall dimensions and cranial bone thickness indicate that it's an adult, and the part of the anatomy that it preserves, the back of the skull, actually should show quite a lot of unique Neanderthal features that are normally present in Neanderthals, but also pre-Neanderthals in this anatomical region. Nevertheless, Apithema 1 shows none of these features. Instead, it shows a combination of ancestral and uniquely modern human features, and most strikingly, the feature that was already mentioned before, the rounded aspect of the back of the skull, which is something that we normally associate only with modern humans. Do these observations actually hold up when we analyze the shape in 3 dimensions? And here again, you see 2 different analyses, one based on 3D measurements reflecting overall neurocranial shape, and one specifically looking at the shape of the midline profile of the posterior part of the cranium. And again, you see modern humans in blue, Neanderthals in red, and earlier Middle Pleistocene Europeans here in yellow, and Middle Pleistocene Africans here in pink. And in both situations, again, you have in both analyses Apithema 1 plotting with the modern humans. Classification results are even more striking. In the neurocranial analysis, it's 100% posterior probability that Apithema 1 is a Homo sapiens, and in the mid-sagittal profile analysis, more than 90% posterior probability. We also conducted a combined shape analysis. This is the 2 specimens do not preserve a lot of the same morphology, but we wanted to see what they look like if we analyze them together, and we produced a reduced data set of only the measurements which we could measure on both of these specimens. And again, now the results are very similar to what we had before. Apithema 2 plotting within Neanderthals, Apithema 1 just outside the modern human polygon. Classification, very similar to what we had before. Apithema 2, more than 90% probability of being a Neanderthal, and Apithema 1, more than 90% probability of being a modern human. So turning now to the new dates, and this was another surprise waiting for us. As I mentioned to you before, we applied the laser ablation uranium-thorium dating method, which is an appropriate method for this time period, and we applied it directly on fragments from Apidma 1 as well as Apidma 2, also on fragments of unidentifiable bone from the same block of breccia, as well as on the matrix, the sediment itself. So these are the results. The sediments, the matrix, date to approximately 150,000 years before present. What this means is that this is the time when the dirt, the ground around the specimens solidified into rock. So you cannot really add anything to this block after this point in time. The unidentified bone fragments produce two clusters of dates, one around 160,000 years and one more than 200,000 years before present. And the two human specimens fell roughly in these two clusters. Apidma 2 dated to 170,000 years before present. Apidma 1 dated to approximately 210,000 years ago. Now, this means that Apidma 1 is older than Apidma 2. So the early Homo sapiens is older than the Neanderthal in this site. And it also, of course, indicates that the final resting place where these specimens were recovered was not the original place of deposition. How do we explain this? Again, I remind you where the specimens were found, in a kind of crack in the ceiling, crack between rocks filled with this breccia bone, with this breccia rock. Now, the uranium uptake signatures and the different ages suggest that these two human fossils actually come from completely different parts of the cave, where they must have later been eroded and fell into a kind of fissure filling where they got thoroughly mixed in with the sediments solidifying around them at 150,000 years. So in conclusion, Apidma 2 belongs to the Neanderthal lineage. It fits every expectation of Neanderthal evolution as we know it from the rest of Europe. Apidma 1 does not. Instead, it possesses a combination of ancestral and modern human features, plots with and is classified as Homo sapiens, is always closest in overall shape to modern human individuals. So there must have been two populations living in what is now southern Greece in the Middle Pleistocene, an early Homo sapiens group, approximately at 210,000 years before present, followed by a Neanderthal population at least 170,000 years ago. So in fact, the situation as it's shown by the Apidma fossils seems to be rather similar to what we have in the Levant, where early modern humans appear to have dispersed early. And in my view, actually, Apidma 1 probably represents the same dispersal wave as the Mislia specimen in Israel. Furthermore, in both regions, early modern humans seems to not have persisted in the long term, with Neanderthal populations appearing and sort of replacing modern humans in both of these regions, as is shown in Greece by the Apidma 2 fossil, but also by other sites exactly in the neighborhood, such as Kalamagia and Lakonis, that have also produced Neanderthal remains. So what are the implications now for modern human origins? This work shows that the early dispersal of Homo sapiens out of Africa occurred earlier and reached much further than previously thought, reaching Europe by 150,000 years earlier than previously suspected. This fits well with evidence from Israel, where we have Homo sapiens presence by 180,000 years ago. It also fits with genetic evidence that has suggested an ancient interbreeding event between Neanderthals and modern humans before 200,000 years. So this work actually creates quite a lot of new questions. One of the most important ones perhaps is, was this a failed dispersal? And if so, why? Why did modern humans not persist? Why did they not survive in these regions like they did later on with a later dispersal out of Africa? But in my view, of course, one of the most important implications is that perhaps we should consider the broader Eastern Mediterranean region as a possible contact zone between Neanderthals and modern humans. And with this, I would like to thank all my collaborators and team members, as well as all the funding agencies, and of course you for your attention.
All right, so real quick, she got in and out. She talked about the evidence, showed it. She talked about the methodology, the test, how they came to the conclusion. She talked about two dispersals. She talked about the earlier dispersal outside of Africa. She said it was short-lived. And then she talked about the the more recent one, more 60,000 years ago, where we have, tons of more evidence. But she brought those things to our attention and she let it be known. She did that right here, right? When she started talking about the modern human origins and dispersals, she talked about the earlier dispersal and 180,000 years ago. And then she talked about the 60,000 years ago. So she was on her game. And she did this according to evidence. And, she went through and ran down everything. She also she highlighted her talking points at the beginning of this bill. And this is what I appreciate about this is the fact that she was able to do this. Bullet point what she was going to talk about and speak to, because we have evidence. So for anyone that has contention with the out of Africa theory, they're going to have issues because all the evidence, when I start bringing up bones and bodies, they're not going to be able to find those same bones and bodies. But before we get going into the bill, I do want to make sure that everyone was paying attention to Not a Coincidence's show last night. If you still here, brother, in the chat, I told you I had something for you. And a claim was made. A claim was made by this brother right here. Real Rap stars in Waterworld. Waterworld is where he claimed he comes from. So much so, right? Let me show you how funny this is. So much so that Root Word, who had no idea what he was agreeing with, agreed with him because it sounded better than their original piece of ignorance, thinking or assuming that people came from monkeys, right? So he jumped on board with that and he kind of left himself out of there, knowing that he was agreeing with the evolutionary process, which he's been a denier of for quite some time, ladies and gentlemen. So here we have the brother from last night who was really emotional. Talked about my mama, talked about Siobhan, talked about everything under the sun, called me names, said what he was going to do, all that. He said all that because I asked him a question. So, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are watching the live stream and those of you who will be catching the replay, I would like to introduce you to the star of last night's show on Not a Coincidence's channel. He calls himself Real Rap. He calls himself Real Rap. And his claim is that he submerged from water and he is water people. He doesn't believe in the evolutionary process. He says that life started in the water and that's what we are. We are from the water. He's saying all life, water. He said he more closely related to plants than primates. He said he ain't a primate. Should be Real Rap stars in Little Mermaid. That would be dope. You know what I'm saying? He would be the first male mermaid. Yeah, chill. He said he from the water world. I can play it back for you. Hold on. As a matter of factly, let's get to that real quick before I get on to this particular bill. Bear with me one moment, and I'm going to pull this information up. I see Not a Coincidence must have slid out because he would have been losing it right now. Yeah. So let me find it. Let me share my screen. Let me find it because I want everybody to hear him. Since he want to be made famous.
Conventional mainstream is creationism.
Okay, so you're gonna have to. All right, so you're gonna. All right, we're gonna have to run through eugenics and prior to eugenics.
We ain't got to run through none of that.
Yes, we do. No, we do.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
Yes, we do. You're not.
That's not the.
Eugenics.
That's not the
No, you're not gonna push me. I'm not on trial because I have questions for you too, fam.
No, we don't.
It's not a science, though. If we came from apes, bro. If we
came from apes, we don't come from apes.
Primate, I would like because you're gonna walk with me. All right, we don't.
You said something wrong. I'm gonna say no.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
To be real about it,
have a conversation.
97% of the scientists agree with evolution, so you got to explain why 97% of the world scientists are incorrect.
That's a side point, kid. That's a side point, kid.
No, I mean you just gotta do that. That's kind of crazy.
No, that's cool. I'm not denying it. That's a side point, though. My thing is this: before we start, okay, where I'm coming from plant life. I'm coming from like what Not a Coincidence said. There's a lot of correspondence that the human body corresponds to as far as nature and what we're connected to. But when I do my research, we are closely related to plant life and fungi than primates. And I'm okay.
No,
that's wrong. That's fine. You can consider all you want. You can refute all you want. But what we're gonna do is, I want you, sir, to tell me.
So you say we're close to
let me answer my question.
So
sir.
when the fuck are you taking a?
No, let me
going
answer my
outside
question,
to get
sir.
sunbathed?
We're not doing that, sir. Let me answer my question. And
you don't know what you're talking about.
My question is this, sir. What I would like to know is, how did we get into ape form, or how did the cell even get?
We are not fucking apes.
Yes, we are.
We're great apes. We're great apes.
Whatever you want to define, hominid.
It's a classification.
Right? We don't get it mixed up. Hominid. That way it covers the entire thing. How did we get from cells to hominids to breaking up from the hominid family?
Bacteria.
To where they have 48 I'm landing my plane on this question, sir. To where they have 48 chromosomes and we have 46.
Fuck,
I need no. Why are you getting upset, bro? This is
because you trying to load up a fucking question for me to answer. Boom.
I'm trying to get to a baseline, sir. I'm not about to be on trial for your bullshit ass questions.
So you don't know. You don't know what you are. I asked you monkeys. That's for root words. It says we share a common ancestor. Does not say we come from. We share a common ancestor. Now, when you go and you look at the evolutionary process in every freaking thing on this planet, let's be more specific. Let's just deal with the animal kingdom. You start to see resemblances in these other animals that are also similar in humans. This is what we know. So through that natural process, over time, over millions of years, the ability to be able to evolve has always been there. And it took stages. Shit that we can't see in our natural time because there was a process. We can't even look back and think of a.
We having a decent dialogue. I just feel like we can just
No. He's cool.
We can have a dialogue. It's gonna be like a 3-hour presentation from this guy because that's how he gets down. I just want to know which one it is.
Hey, I mean, but dog is a.
Hey, look, I just want to say one thing. If I look like an ape, this nigga looks like an orangutan, and I can only imagine what his mother looks like, bro, with them long ass titties. I don't look like a primate, bro. I don't look like an ape. None of that shit. Okay, you need to check your mom and ask her why her titties touch her knees. Okay, that's what
who are you talking to?
I'm talking to my mom.
My mom ain't even got big titties, yo.
Hey, well,
so you just fucked up right there.
Maybe you came from the orangutan clan.
My mom don't have big titties, yo.
Talking crazy,
and she don't droop with that long ass chin you got, nigga.
I mean, accept what you are, though. No, hold on, hold on. It looks like y'all running from Sean's question. If you're not,
I want to know. Now look,
what? So show us what you are.
That was the question.
Now, that's what they running from. Show us what you are.
Looking at it where it says the most And the animal with the same brain capacity as us is the dolphin and the great white. So why can't I claim that? Because I mean, how dare you say that?
Goddamn, root words.
I need 30
root
seconds.
words.
I need 30
Yo,
seconds.
root words got the floor. Now hold on.
Yo, root words is fucking stupid.
I just need 30 seconds. If y'all
Give him
come
30
from monkey,
seconds. Give him 30 seconds, John.
why can't we come from stuff that has the same brain capacity as us and more brain capacity with us than the ape?
Have you ever seen a shark walk?
Come from the inner fish.
Have you ever seen a shark walk upright?
Go ahead.
Root word. No. I'm with you, bro. I'm with you. You could be a dolphin. You could be a shark. You could be all that shit. But I just want to know. I just want to know which one of the motherfuckers walked upright.
I want to add. Hold on. Before you.
No. I need root word answer.
All right. I'll let him answer.
Okay, I'm gonna answer this. None. Just like there's no primates that walk upright.
Thank you. Now,
root word. You are aware that primates do walk upright, right?
Sir, no, they don't. They might
exactly.
They don't walk on 2 feet. No, they not, sir.
They have
root
arches.
word.
They definitely
which
can.
Which primates are you referring to, bro? Because I can show you primates that will walk upright.
No, they might stand upright and do some fun.
No, they'll stand and they'll walk.
Hey, y'all, listen. This is the funny part. Is that when I said that I could show him primates that can stand up and walk upright, he doesn't understand that humans are primates, right? But not even that. Like, I could show him a great ape that can stand up and walk right, but not a coincidence is already looking for the video behind the scenes, and that's when he plays the video.
They'll stand and they'll walk.
At 100%, Sean. What primate walks 100%?
Very good one.
Humans. The answer to his question is humans. That's the answer to his question. I didn't answer it live because he didn't know what a fucking primate was. So when I allowed Kid Grebo to define primates, right? That answered his questions. Who can walk upright?
None of them. They ain't supposed to walk 100% of the time.
We walk 100%. What are you talking about?
There you go right there, nigga, pimp strolling. The fuck you mean?
For how long though? For how long?
Exactly. The whole goddamn time he finna go get some
I need him. No, for the rest of his life, I need him to
That's
walk
a silverback.
Like
Look at that motherfucker. Look at him.
No more doing it, man.
He finna go get some pussies, nigga.
Okay. I can't stop.
He gonna
you
walk
from
upright.
Be a monkey, okay? I can't stop you with all this monkey shit.
Nah, no. We don't come from monkeys. Let me add some
science.
You're not adding science. The minute that you say we come from monkeys, you're pseudo.
I'm not saying. I said I can't stop you with this monkey shit. Meaning it's a dog and pony show at this moment. So,
all right,
there's something known in science as a pre-auricular sinus. Now, this is to add to Root's point.
Hey, chill. Here you go, chill. I had to cue it up to give you context. Here you go.
A pre-auricular sinus is what some people who have this ancient vestibule through mutation are born with. I have 2 of them. All right. If I was to zoom into the camera, you would see 2 little, it looks like piercings right here along my hairline. All right, hold on. Let me see if I can catch. I don't know if I can catch it. It's somewhere right here. I don't know if you see it. It looks like a little piercing.
What's that? I didn't hear what you said.
It's called a pre-auricular sinus. A pre-auricular sinus. And what that is, it's an ancient vestibule. It should be like right here.
Spell it.
It's real small.
That's crazy. I got that shit too, bro.
Yeah, a lot of us are born with that. Some of us are born with 1.
I never know what that was.
Take it off the big screen, bro. Some of us are born with 2. And what that is, science says that was an ancient vestibule of when we had gills, of when we were living in water. That's one of my points of contention of when we were developing in water, just like how we develop in our mother's wombs in water when we're embryos. When the human form, if we consider the human being going through process of conception all the way through birth, it looks like a fucking reptile. And not just that, you still have the webbings, all right, from when you were in water, okay? And there's a whole lot of other research that I can go through, but that's part of my water world.
You're proving the evolutionary process. You know that, right?
No problem. I don't have an issue with that, bro. And we were developing in water, just like how we develop in our mother's wombs in water. when we're embryos, when the human form, if we consider the human being going through process of conception all the way through birth, it looks like a fucking reptile. And not just that, you still have the webbings, all right, from when you were in water, okay? And there's a whole lot of other research that I can go through, but that's part of my water world.
You're proving the evolutionary.
That you heard what he said. That is a part of his water world theory. He called it a theory. He said that is a part of his water world theory. Now, he doesn't understand any of that. He confuses root word all the way. Let me go back to the video. And then we're going to get into it.
You know that, right?
No problem. I don't have an issue with that, bro.
Oh, okay.
I'm not one of these niggas that are stuck on a point.
Yeah, but you said you're not
if you're able to empirically with empirical data show me, I'm completely, I'm open-minded, bro. I'm here to learn.
He killed that monkey.
Primates. That's all you gotta do. Show us how we're not primates.
And he put it to the water. He said all of us, and he proved the source that we all come from out of some water. And then when we come from out the water, we have to cut that so-called umbilical cord to make us breathe air. So we come out of the water.
Do you want to know? Do you not know that apes go through? Do you not know that primates also give birth the same way that fucking women give birth?
Okay, then. So if they
hold on. I'm asking, did you know that? I'm asking, did you know that?
Sir, I'm answering the question. I'm saying that if a primate and a human and all other animals go through the same process, all animals come from out the water and are fish, not primates. I digress.
Okay, thank you, root word, for fucking science all the way to fuck up. The evolutionary process starts in the water
on the big screen, bro.
and goes out of the water. So I don't understand how you sitting here and you are. I don't care if you want to claim the water, bro. I'm gonna tell you, science is gonna lead you. You go back further enough. So what I need for not a coincidence to do for me, right? I need not a coincidence to pull up the evolutionary process in less than 3 minutes. It's a YouTube video. I want root words to look at this and look at this. It is a quick, bro.
Now he is saying right here, this is evidence for being water world. This is what he's saying. We can't make this up. So I'm gonna stop it again, and I want to show you. Here's where we are today. This brother right here. His name is on YouTube. His name is Real Rap, and he stars in Waterworld. That's what he has going on. So let's take a look at a few things and just kind of build on what the sister had already reported earlier, but really add to, not just, negate anything that she was actually saying, but add to. And I'm going to show you a article published in the National Geographic, and look what grades this article was written for. 4th through 12th grade, right? Because we have to take these mofos back to grade school in order to properly deal with this topic, because they really don't know. So Paul Solopek, this is Paul Solopek right here. This guy walking next to the African is an award-winning journalist and National Geographic explorer. He is also a walker, and he is on a very long walk, one that will last 10 years. Some of our human ancestors took about 60,000 years ago by some estimates. What walk do you think that Paul Solopek is on? that our ancestors took about 60,000 years ago. Exactly. In 2013, Salopek set out to walk the path some of our ancestors walked when they migrated out of Africa. This dude, back in 2013, started his journey out of Africa and was going to continue his walk, going wherever the hell he was going to go, and it was going to take him how long ever it was going to take him. And it, you know, it's a 10-year walk. Now, he has named this expedition the Out of Eden Walk. His route will take him from Ethiopia to the Middle East, through Central and Southeast Asia, and across China. The land bridge our ancestors used to cross from Asia to North America has long since disappeared. So Salopek will take a ship across the Pacific Ocean. He will then walk through west coast of the United States and Mexico. He will cross Central America to South America and walk along its western coast to Tierra del Fuego, the southernmost tip of the continent. Just as some of our ancestors did, Salopek would travel mostly along the outside edges of the continents near oceans and seas. As he walks, Salopek is documenting the places he travels and the people he meets. Salopek is also telling the stories of our human history, from the earliest humans to our most recent past. Some of the places he has walked through have clues that can help us understand early humans and our even earlier hominid ancestors. Salopek chose Herto Bari in Ethiopia for the starting point of Out of Eden Walk. This desert site is a good place to start retracing the steps of early humans. Why is this man doing this? Why? What's the goal? Because he wants to take that same trip that the early humans took. Now, Herto Man is thought by, it is the location of 160,000-year-old Herto Man fossil. Herto Man is thought by many scientists to be the oldest fully recognizable modern human ever found. It is one on the paths to believe to have been taken by some of our early ancestors from Africa to Europe and Asia. Fossil evidence shows that these early humans made crude stone tools. They also possibly had rituals for their dead. Herto Man is proof that modern humans, Homo sapiens, lived in Africa at least 160,000 years ago, and they seem to have stayed there for a long time, though it is unclear when some modern humans first left Africa. Evidence shows that these modern humans did not leave Africa until between 60 and 90,000 years ago. Most likely, a change in climate helped to push them out. Experts suggest that droughts in Africa led to starvation, and humans were driven to near extinction before they ever had a chance to explore the world. A climate shift and greening in the Middle East probably helped to draw the first humans out of Africa. Now, I don't want to bore you with his story, but he walks it down, okay? He walks it down. And it's a nice little story, and we really need a documentary so that we actually can watch the whole thing transpire. Now that you have a little bit of an idea of Paul Salopek and his journey to retrace the footsteps of early human migration, I want to take you to another place. About 2 million years ago, the first of our ancestors moved northwards from their homelands and out of Africa. Now I know what y'all thinking, Sean. You reading to us, brother, but we want to see the evidence. I'm gonna get to. Listen, I got you. I'm gonna get to showing you the bones and all of that and locations. We're gonna deal with all of that. But anyway, why did it take so long to leave Africa? The extensive arid environments of Northern Africa and the Middle East were a major barrier blocking movement out of Africa. Before they could spread out of Africa, our ancestors needed to develop physical and mental capabilities that would enable them to survive in these harsh environments where food and fresh water were highly seasonal resources. So who left Africa first? Homo erectus did about 1.75 million years ago. The descendants of Homo erectus, they went to Asia. They spread eastward and were established in Southeast Asia about 1.6 million years ago. Now, there's an alternate theory proposes that hominids migrated out of Africa before Homo erectus, possibly 2 million years ago. However, the earliest dates would be they went toward that way, okay? Now, this theory gained more support in recent years because of DNA. DNA helped substantiate the flow of the outer Africa. I'm going to say that again. DNA evidence allowed us to flow and then hone in on where these people were actually at. Because of the evidence of genetic studies, they indicated an expansion out of Africa about 1.9 million years ago. Gene flow occurring between Asian and African populations 1.5 million years ago. More physical evidence is needed from key areas in Eurasia, such as Iran, Afghanistan, and Pakistan, but politics is currently making it difficult. So if we can get through some of that, we will have more evidence to substantiate what is actually needed in the evolutionary process. Now, what made it possible to leave? Climate, right? They already mentioned that the physical and cultural elements attributed to the dispersal, along with the environment. So I ain't gonna bore anybody with that. So who left after Erectus? Who left after Erectus? That's a good question. One that they really haven't really just dug in on, but Homo sapiens don't leave. The earliest, well, remember when she said in the video that the earliest Homo sapiens that went outside of Africa went toward Israel about 180,000 years ago. There was a small group, and then the Sakil, that was 90,000 years ago. The Kavasi, that was 120,000 years ago. Those were some of the earlier Homo sapien migrations that were really small. But life in Africa started 220,000 years ago. We have evidence for all of that. All right, so I don't want to hear no play. Okay, now let me get y'all right where I need y'all to be. Okay, so in this old article that was written in 2001, and I don't know if any of y'all ever read this, but it talks about new evidence for out of Africa origins, and this is because of the help with DNA. So we're dealing with the Y chromosome. Everybody should be familiar with the Y chromosome and how DNA DNA helped map the flow. So I'm not going to bore you with this, but I left it all in the description of the video. So if anybody wants to refute, we can argue it up and down. So let's have some fun. All right. So Tyson snoring, I'm good. Now, there's an out of Africa hypothesis, human genetic diversity and comparative economic development. In this particular paper, it talks about all of those things that I just mentioned. Now, I'm not going to get too specific or anything like that, but it talks about some old ways and some new ways. Everything that was just said in the title. It's a good read. It's a good digestive stuff, but one that we ain't got to discuss right here because it's just gonna be some repeat stuff. And in some other articles that I want to use that is more substantiated. So let's start dealing with scientific evidence. All right, so our species, Homo sapiens, is highly autapomorphic, uniquely derived among hominids in the structure of its skull and postcranial skeleton. It's also sharp and distinguished from other organisms by its unique symbolic mode of cognition. The fossil and archaeological records combine to show fairly clearly that our physical and cognitive attributes both first appeared in Africa, but at different times. Essentially, modern bony conformation was established in that continent by the 200 to 150,000 year range, dating in a good agreement with the dates of the origin of Homo sapiens derived from modern molecular diversity. The event concerned was apparently short-term because it is essentially unanticipated in fossil record. In contrast, The first convincing stirrings of symbolic behavior are not currently detectable until possibly well after 100,000 years ago. The radical reorganization of the gene expression and the underwritten of the distinctive physical appearance of Homo sapiens was probably also responsible for the neural substrate that permits symbolic cognition. This expectantly acquired potential lay unexploited until it's discovered via cultural stimulus, plausibly the invention of language. Modern humans appear to have definitively exited Africa to populate the rest of the globe only after both their physical and cognitive peculiarities had been acquired within the continent. So before they could leave, they had to establish, right, the ability to be able to leave. Learning from their current environment gave them the ability to understand what the rest of the world could withhold. So, in this article, it beats down the door of evidence for human evolution. It talks about the old world, talks about the new world, talks about the different stages of hominids. It also provides insights into a few fossil records and things like that that we actually need. Now, to this audience, right? I don't have any ignorant people in this audience. I don't have to like break everything down overall and bore you to death. So, in a conclusion, it basically stated, evidently, then becoming human took place in two separate stages. First, the distinctive modern humans morphology became established very clearly in Africa. They said very clearly in Africa. One more time. Modern human morphology became established very clearly in Africa, and probably shortly after 200,000 years ago. This event evolved in a radical departure from the primitive Homo body form. All right. Only 100,000 years later, again in Africa, in the Middle Stone Age industrial context, did modern symbolic behaviors begin to be expressed, underwritten by a new capacity that had most plausibly been present but unexploited in the first anatomical Homo sapiens. In evolutionary terms, this disconnect was entirely routine. For every new behavior has to be permitted by a structure that already exists. Birds, for example, had feathers for millions of years before co-opting them for flight. Pteropods acquired their limbs in aquatic context. Symbolic reasoning appears to be qualitatively different from all other forms of cognition, including its own immediate precursor. Its neural substrate continues to be the strenuously debated, but whatever it was, that structurally innovation was most plausibly acquired as part of the parcel and the radical biological reorganization that gave birth to Homo sapiens as an anatomically distinctive entity, in which case, like those feathers and limbs, it remained unexploited, at least in the cognitive context, for a very substantial length of time until its new use was discovered by its possessor. Now, how this discovery was made remains a matter of conjecture, but a leading candidate for the necessarily cultural stimulus and symbolic processing of information is the invention of language. Language is perhaps the ultimate symbolic activity, and in contrast to theory of mind and the other leading candidate for the role of releaser, it has the advantage of being communal rather than an internalized attribute. The ability to use language depended on, of course, the presence of the vocal structures required to produce speech, but clearly these had already been exactably acquired by the earliest anatomical Homo sapiens. Current evidence thus indicates that Homo sapiens, as we know it today, had a dual origin, first as an anatomical entity and only subsequently as a cognitive one. The clear signal of both the fossil and archaeological records is that both innovations occurred in Africa, from which the first fully modern humans expanded relatively recently to populate the rest of the world. Yeah, Sean, but so let me make it more elementary, okay? Let me make it more elementary. Let's get to the slideshow. All right. Okay, this is out of the Natural History Museum in London. All right, so we ain't dealing with Western science. Today, Homo sapiens is the only human on Earth. That's what they say. So here's a look at, remember, we don't know exactly what the Novicens look like or what they possibly could resemble. So they try to get as closely as they can. But we do know what Neanderthals look like. We do know what Florensis looks like. And we also know what Homo sapiens look like. Not Homo sapiens sapien, but Homo sapiens, right? There were at least 4 kinds of humans 60,000 years ago. So the evidence. Oh, let me make this big so it's not confusing y'all on the screen. All right. So evidence to reconstruct the past. You have to deal with these things: tools, archaeology, paleontology, fossils, behavior, contextual and other data, evolution, and history, isotopes, stratigraphy, dating, and isotopes, calculus, DNA. So there's a host of things that you need to consider when dealing with evidence to reconstruct the past. Now, there are some dating methods. MA refers to millions of years ago, KA's thousands of years ago, okay? So when you see MA, you're talking millions of years ago. Now, in dating, you know, they use different methods of dating, and you see some of this stuff all right here. Now, the last phase of human evolution, 2 million years ago, several species, global spread, human anatomy, is syphilized, dietary range, behavioral complexity, and so forth. So everyone should be familiar with this particular picture, this image. It's shown up many a times if you ever watched the Amara Squad, Ankh, and others. And it shows the actual process and early stages of Homo or hominids throughout 7 million years ago and beyond. So what was it to become a human, right? What was it to become a human? We talked about this all the time. You heard people talk about eating, right? Meat. Meat helped in the evolutionary process. It gave us the complexity to grow larger brains, smaller guts, right? So those 3 things, meat, guts, brains, that gave us the complexity to be the people that we are today. Who don't believe that? Who has an issue with it? Who knows it because of evidence, right? So shout out to the meat eaters. I ain't mad at y'all. Now, early humans, 1.5, 1.8 million years ago out of Africa 1. Why are they talking about millions of years ago out of Africa 1? Who was involved in out of Africa 1? Anybody know? Homo erectus. It's all over the screen. Homo habiligansis. Homo neanderthalis. Right? You start seeing that spread. And this is why right here in this little spot right here, you see these dots. But the oldest dots are all in Africa. These other dots are less than, right? So let's deal with the first one. Damanasi, Georgia. It's out of Africa. Potentially 1.8 million years ago. The first explorers. They ended up in Georgia, y'all. The oldest dated hominids out of Africa ended up in Georgia, near the Black Sea. For people who confused about that. In Asia. All right. Now, moving forward, 1.2 million years ago, the site Cima del Elefante, 1.2 million years ago. What I am basically showing y'all, without saying too much, is I'm giving y'all the dates. I'm giving y'all the dates and I'm giving y'all the location points of where The evidence was found. Okay. And then Grandalani about 800,000, 0.8 million years ago. So right under 1 million years. And then you have where were they found? Atapuerca, Spain, and you have the Homo antecessor. There you go. So you can look in Spain. Now, Homo habiligansis, 600,000 years ago. Say that name 15 times fast. All right, then you have the evolution of modern humans and Neanderthals based on fossil and genetic data. See how helpful DNA is? Oh my goodness. DNA helps us. So we got it. Now, Homo habiligansis is a widespread species. You can find them in Argo, France, Broken Hill, Zambia, Pucholoni, Greece, Boda, Ethiopia. All 4 of these skulls were found in different areas. And this is what I mean by evidence, right? This is evidence. Put up here. Now, Homo habiligansis at Box Grove, Sussex, half a million years ago. You know what I'm saying? They found his bone out there. Now I'm showing y'all where they found the evidence. Gosh, Lee. Now, the evolution of modern humans and Neanderthals based on fossil and genetic data. We're still talking about that. Neanderthals. Look where they found these Neanderthals. They all over Europe, Western Europe. Look at them. They all over Western Europe. They all the way up in Asia too. Middle East. They there. They call that Neanderthal Valley, y'all. All right. Now, here go modern American adult male versus a typical Neanderthal male. The average height, 65 inches, 65 centimeters. The average height, 69.5 inches, 176.5 centimeters. So the average adult male or modern American male is just a tad bit bigger than the Neanderthal, the average Neanderthal adult male. But if you look at everything looks similar except for their hips. Their hips were wider, their arms were shorter, they had bigger elbows. You can look at all of these things and they show you where they were different than us. They had larger and thicker pedals. They had short tibias, short and flattened tibias, and bigger ankles. They had bigger ankle joints. They had bigger, I already said something about their hips. Their elbows was bigger. They had a larger rib cage, broader shoulders. They had more massive brow ridges, flattened, bigger craniums, large nasal cavities, looked like they snorted an 8-ball, and bigger shoulder joints. All right, the differences in the skulls, you can see it. You can pause the video. I'm not going to run all the way down a lot of that. Now, the origin of our species, Homo sapiens. Now, there's two origins to explain. Ladies and gentlemen, do y'all understand why that there's 2 origins of Homo sapiens to explain? Where is Butt Hurt Real Rap, aka Pseudo? I got word from somebody close to him. They told me where he was at. They told me that he was in a water world. They told me that he was in the water world. All right, so what I said was, and I knew you weren't paying attention, but what I asked was, do you know why there's 2 origins to explain of Homo sapiens? Is what I asked. It's on the screen. All right. Dang, you ain't paying attention. So, Homo sapien fossils suggest African origin mark pattern 150 to 200,000 years ago. Now, we know that we have evidence now that has pushed this date from 200,000 years ago to 300,000 years ago in Morocco. We got evidence of that, right? Those are the oldest now. So we have that. That's still on the continent of Africa. All right, so that's where we at. That's where we at. So now you got mitochondrial Eve, 1987 was found. DNA helped support it. It was published in the Journal of Nature. African female ancestor, 200,000 years ago. That's where it first started off. We're talking Lucy, right? I mean, y'all know who we talking about 200,000 years ago? They showing it. Look, they showing the technology, the Ashango bone, all these different bone datings and all of that stuff, networking, burials, art, music, culture, right? Then they found all of these shells, these different rocks. They dated all of that. Now, I'm not going to go through all 97 slides, but in this right here alone is nothing but evidence of Homo sapiens and its evolutionary process in Africa, and the evidence that they left behind for us to verify their existence and the genetic evidence to back it up. All right, so just this information alone will refute anyone making claims because all the evidence is there. I'm talking bones, I'm talking culture, I'm talking all of that. All right, so I want to give you some tidbits here on how to actually deal with evidence. I can't tell you, Sean. I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so if you're looking for evidence, I got it for you. Evidence for evolution. This basically gives you some key points, but these are bullet points that we all have to deal with when talking about evolution. You have to look at anatomy, molecular biology, biogeography, fossils, and direct observation. So if someone is to say that the outer Africa theory is false and there's no evidence for it, then they would have to find the anatomy. They would have to prove things to be false here using anatomy. They would have to get familiar with molecular biology, which they are not familiar with molecular biology because they are DNA deniers. They would have to deal with biogeography, right? Fossils. So if the outer Africa theory is false and they are indigenous to the Americas and have always been in America since its earliest inception and before then where is the fossil records that would support that? Right? And then direct observation. Okay. Now, I'm not going to go through all of this. This is a 13-page article. It does a great job of dealing with micro and macro evolution and then providing additional information that can help you all in the process. Darwin's name does come up in this as well. And it's an interesting read. There's a shitload of sources here. That's why I'm not taking my time and trying to go from one lane to another. Some of them I'm not even really going to show y'all. However, let me move on to my next little piece of article. Now, in the 2022 article, 1.5 million year old fossil rewrites the outer Africa theory. But some experts want more evidence. This is basically arguing here that 1.5 million year old vertebrae from an extinct human species unearthed in Israel suggests that ancient humans may have migrated from Africa in multiple ways. This is something that is also provided in the doctor that we listened to earlier, well, the anthropologist we listened to earlier through that. So we know that there was multiple waves, small waves, irrelevant because they really didn't stay in those places, but just to give some support to what she said in her article earlier. Oh, you slow. Okay. That's basically all you saying was that you slow. I got you. All right. And then here, 2019 article, we have early dispersal of modern humans from Africa to Greece. This is something for everybody to, they can get into it. And, I'm really can't even lie. So when people say they want to debate something, it's a lot of evidence that they're going to have to try to falsify. And inside of this, we have all of those steps. I also provide y'all with the BBC article, which is an easier read. Earliest evidence of humans outside of Africa. Now, you're wondering, why am I showing something about outside of Africa? Because I need you to understand that we need to know the evidence that's found outside of Africa, as it substantiates the evidence that is found on the continent of Africa. So by looking at this particular map right here, you can see it. Look, 1.5 million years ago, Sangha in Indonesia, in China 1.7, and 1.66 in another part of China, in another area of China 2.1 million. Right? So stop right there. 2.1 million is the oldest. And then you are outside of Africa. Then you go into Africa, you see 2.8 million, 2.1 million, 3.3 million, 1.9 million. You start seeing hominids, and you start seeing hominid fossils. You see hominid fossils, and you see hominid stone tools. The blue represent the stone tools. The red represents the hominids. But when you go outside of China, the oldest human fossils found is 1.7 million years ago, but they do have some stone tools that are dated at 2.1. So eventually something had to be in the area to make those stone tools. And so you have to give reverence to or credence to that. But we do have the 3.3 in Kenya as well, which goes well beyond that and a lot of other things. So now I can give you some hominid sites in Africa, just to be a little bit more clear. So here's a map right here that you can click on, and you can find out notice, look at all of them down there. We got evidence of Bloomberg's cave because, Brother Black Panther, he been to Bloomberg's cave. Carino said that there's 28 million-year-old fossils of a modern Homo sapien in Guadalupe, Mexico. Jay, he done lost his goddamn mind. Unweathered. Yeah, Jay, he done lost his mind. But anyway, I give y'all this evidence because look at how this breaks down. When you're talking excavations and you're talking evidence, they got the skulls right here. They got the comments in the middle. They got the location and the little notes right here. Homo erectus right here. Homo heidelbergensis right there. You got Homo antecessor. You got Homo sapiens. You got Australopithecus, right? All of this stuff and these sites. So when they start talking that yin yang, just the little stuff that I'm showing you right now is proven out. It's proven the out of Africa theory because this is where all the evidence is, right? You can't find another place in this world with the amount of evidence that Africa has for each stage of hominid. And I said that yesterday in the show. He said the elbows over there fighting each other. They need to be seeing this. Oh, my bad. I figured that y'all was somewhere. Look at Robert Rand here now. So he late. If he here now, the elbows must have been live. But anyway, more evidence here: evolutionary genetics and admixture in African populations. I'm just running through what sources I have available for everybody right now. I pretty much already nailed it down to what I wanted to present and what I wanted to be said. I'm just showing everybody now the additional evidence that is here. This next source is useful for everybody. It's out of Brown EDU, and it adds to the body of work of naming the hominids, the early Africans, the out of Africa too, and all of those things. We got all of that right there. So you got Out of Africa 1, Out of Africa 2, broke down a little bit. Now, this is something that I think everybody in the chat, if you don't read anything else, read this. This is the annual review of genomics and human genetics. It's the tales of human migration, admixture, and selection in Africa. Right? It's published in 2018. This is beautifully written, and it's got some jewels in here, but the jewels in here substantiates all the other evidence that has been provided in this conversation thus far. So, you know, like, I don't want to drown y'all with boring y'all to death for reading. And then, of course, y'all already know, a weekly structured STEM for human origins in Africa. All right, written May 7, 2022. Good abstract here. Introduction is going to walk it down and support everything shown as well. And then, of course, I leave you with the genetic variation in human evolution for more reading and understanding for those of you who are interested in it. And, you know, this is going to give you the support that you need to explain DNA and how many base pairs and what they test to know the difference between everything else that's going on. Not that you need that now. Let me stop sharing real quick. And Shy, you said they over there. Who channel they on fighting? Because, you know, I don't watch none of that stuff. Who channel they on? This is funny, though. That's funny. Robert Rand, what channel y'all was on? Karimio, I don't know that channel. I don't know that channel at all. I don't know who that is. And you said they fighting? What they fighting about? How to identify, if they're gonna identify as Native American, Indian? Because they can't identify as Aboriginal. If they try to identify as Aboriginal, right? Listen to me. If they try to identify as Aboriginal, then they're walking right into the evolutionary process. So if they deny the evolutionary process, they can't identify as Aboriginal. Oh, okay. So this is day 2 of them talking about, I thought they did that yesterday. Didn't they do a whole show on scamming each other yesterday? Ain't that what Not a Coincidence said, that they were arguing about scamming each other? What the hell they got going on, bro? Oh, he said Karimio was the chief abo. Yeah, well, the chief abo is dead. Yeah, he did. Right, Sha. It's a damn universe, bro. Well, it's not millions of years. It's not 28 million years old. It's you gotta go back farther than that, bro. Just look at how old the Earth is, bro. Go look at how old the Earth is. Just pull it up. You're talking billions of years old, 4.5 billion years old. So if the Earth, you know what I mean, 28 million years old, you ain't even got hominids that's that old, bro. Oh, they fighting because they high wearing off. Hey, Sean, can we situate this? Why are we still talking about the Olmecs, bro? We already situated it. What do you mean? The Olmecs and the Mayans were not black. They were not black. They were Paleo-Indians, bro. They were Amerindians. They were the first people here. They were not black. When you say black in a North American context, black in North America refers to Negroes, which also refers to descendants of Africans. They were not descendants of Africans. They were neither black or none of that stuff. Was their skin tone a particular way? Absolutely, for those that live near the equator, not all of them, but they were Denisovan and Neanderthal mixed. They carried those genetics. So those people that populated the Americas were not us. They have no affiliation with us. They have genetic makeup in them that we don't have. We don't have Denisovan DNA in us. They do. They got Denisovan and Neanderthal, and they carry those genes of Denisovans with the jaw and the lip stuff. 2 specific genes. And the first troll is in the building. It took about an hour and a half for the first troll to show up. Nah, ain't no view on that, bro. Listen, when I start talking about the people who populated the Americas first, that's why I did those videos on the people who populated the Americas, because it eliminates them. While everybody else was fighting them using history, if you use science to fight them, they can't go anywhere, because now the history isn't on their side and the science isn't on their side. They're submerged. So what else could they use to substantiate who they are? They would have to steal somebody's history. They can't steal science. They can't falsify science. So they have to deny science so that they can steal history. And that's where they at with that. They trapped. Karimio, I don't know what he is. I mean, I heard of the name, but I don't know who that person is. I don't pay any attention to them. I don't know how y'all go over there and do it and sit on the panel and argue with them. I guess somebody already got Taylor Franklin's comment. Y'all already took care of that? I don't see it. YouTube. I said on my end, white man is the first man. Being the first man isn't really all that. Hey, Karimio is a beast. He would destroying the debate. Oh, okay. Cheers. Tell him to get ready then. If he'll destroy me in a debate, tell him get ready. I know how to answer research questions, and I know how to present evidence. Not speculation, not trying to sound good for the chat. Evidence. It ain't a more slick talking motherfucker in the world that can beat evidence. When somebody puts some evidence on the screen, if people don't adhere to the evidence, they were never going to adhere to the evidence. He could talk as slick as he want to talk. He said, I'm over. You know, bro, I'm not 450 videos behind. Why am I 450 videos behind when I got over 700 videos? He 450 videos behind. I'm never behind on anything regarding those guys. But that's great. I'm glad that he's your master teacher. He's a master pseudo too. But that doesn't mean anything. Appealing to the authority of another person who's ignorant, that does nothing for me. Just understand this. The church still has over 1 billion people in that mug. It's millions of people that go to church on Sundays. That does not prove that the church is right and that the church is answering all the questions and that the church is better than anything else. It just means that there's that many people that still believe that shit. So if you feel like dude is a teacher, it shows your level of competency. You're no different than people who follow someone in church. You're lost and you can't substantiate the reason why you feel the way you feel. You're caught up in a belief. As long as Golden State got the 3 ball, bro, it ain't gonna be no fishing for them. But yeah, I figured that it would be over in 6. I picked LA in 6. Also, if you bet on the Lakers to win in 6, depending on what you bet, you're gonna get paid. That was the line. The line was for the Lakers to win in 6 games. And that's what I did. I took the bet. You got to be punch drunk to think Karimio was a master teacher. Apparently, you know what I'm saying? Whatever troll account that is in the chat board is desperate. He desperate as hell. No, I didn't bet on I didn't bet on LeBron. I bet on the Lakers beating Golden State. I bet on the Lakers beating Golden State. LeBron ain't showed me shit this series. He had too many weak games. He wasn't playing defense earlier when Golden State went on their run. He ain't been playing no defense now. He just been trying to, like, you know what I'm saying? Go through the motion type stuff. And Golden State can't hit no threes. If Golden State start hitting some, it's still the third quarter. Golden State can hit them threes, come down and get 30 points quick. I tell Christians and Muslims that all the time. Y'all numbers don't validate the doctrine. It's true. Facts. The KKK got followers. Yep. Oh, okay. Premio proved without a shadow of a doubt that the Indians were Greek. What? Y'all listen to people like that? Yeah, he on something. That man said that the Indians were Greek. How did he come to that conclusion? Anyone know? Yeah, he on that crack bad, bro. He on meth. He ain't on crack. He on meth. He on meth, or he got some fentanyl on whatever he doing. He snorting fentanyl. He ain't analyzed no damn linguistic evidence, bro. He don't even know nobody over there that claims to be an Aboriginal or indigenous knows linguistics. He can't even deal with the comparative linguistic model, bro. Comparative model. He can't even tell you how languages work. What? Oh yeah, you a crackhead all the way, bro. Hey, tell him come teach us. Come teach us what he know. You so confident in him, go get him and tell him to come teach us. Tell him come prove to me that the Indians were Greek. Tell him to show me the evidence that the Indian were Greek. And if all he used was languages, we really know that he fucked up. Go get your mans. Don't waste the time. Go get him. They be trying to use like loan words, like later on in the 1400s or whatever, trying to say that that's languages. Nah, bro, you don't know what these people got going on, man. We're no damn Greeks over here. The Greeks ain't even interested in the New World. The Greeks were interested in Egypt. How many Greeks created ships to travel to the New World? How many Greeks were interested in the slave trade like that? We're talking Greeks. Man, that dude in the chat on crack. See, he's just talking. And the mtDNA X and Y DNA R1A prove they are here. No, it don't. That don't prove that they're Greek. He just made that shit up, bro. Cremio don't even believe in DNA. So how the fuck is you running around here trying to say these haplogroups prove that these people were here? And them ain't even Greek. Them ain't even European haplogroups, bro. The haplogroups that are here. Let me show you something real quick. Let me show you something. Let me pull it up. I need to find the image to show you so that you can properly understand and you can see it for yourself that that you're on crack. I almost got it. Just give me a minute. I'll put it in wrong. There we go. Bro, I don't know who you are, but I'm about to kick your ass out because you stupid. We having fun letting you just talk in the chat, but you really wasting our time. So explain to me, right? Explain to me, based on what you just said, explain to me how ACD X ACDB. You do know that this X that comes from way over here ain't the same X's. There's a mutational process that goes through. You're aware of that, right? You see how B coming through here? You said R1A. So show me how R is in the New World. Give me that evidence. Come teach, bro. Come do your thing. I give you 20 minutes to get off. Let me close some of these sources out. So I got so much shit up. What's up, man? Let me see what he's saying. Alongawam Indians have traces of Mediterranean DNA. Come on, man. Where you at, bro? The link in the chat. Where you at? This is what happens when you let people that don't study science start talking about shit that they're unfamiliar with. Like, for real, in all reality, y'all. Like, they don't even study science, but all of a sudden they start to talk about haplogroups. They're doing the same shit that the Hebrews were doing when you start running the Hebrews left and right, and they couldn't substantiate themselves in Africa because of the genetic evidence, and they didn't know that there was markers that indicated certain things. They are on the run. They're on the run. And now they arguing with each other because they scamming each other. You see Shy ain't showed back up. Him or Robert Rand. Robert Rand over there too. You see Robert Rand ain't saying nothing. Not a coincidence over there. I don't know who channel they on. Y'all entertain that shit. Look at Shy. He back. Nah, Shy, get him that Greek. I ain't giving them nothing. See, that's the difference. All right, so you're younger than I am. That's the difference between me and you. You think it's cool to give them something because you be over there, you be arguing with them and you don't know. I ain't giving the motherfuckers shit. I didn't get a Hebrews nothing when they started trying to claim West Africa, Egypt, and all of that. I'm not giving them nothing. I'm giving them the same energy that I gave Hebrews earlier on when I wanted to deal with the Hebrews when it came to Africa. I'm not giving no lying motherfucker anything. That's the difference between me and other people. I'm not giving up. You can give that. So now when this is the problem that you create, Shaq. When you say that we'll give them that, when you say those words, well, okay, so let's just say we just give you that. So what? When you say shit like that, you create a problem. Because you gave them something, they think that they can continue to use it. No matter how wrong it is, brother, they think that they can use it. You can't give them nothing. They gotta earn it. They gotta earn it with evidence. Ain't no freebies. We ain't giving nobody nothing, yo. Nope. I don't care nothing about them creating a trap for their own claims. None of that. See, that's the difference. That's the difference, bro. When you're dealing with real, all right. So let me just keep it a buck. So the school of thought that I come up in is that you cut the head of the snake immediately. You don't waste no time. Y'all want to draw the argument out. Fuck drawing the argument out. I don't care nothing about views, time, attention, none of that shit. If I can get it over in 30 seconds, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to get it over in 30 seconds. Why am I drawing this out? I'm not finna go, listen, bro. When you're dealing with conspiracy theorists, don't you know that they make claim after claim after claim after claim after claim? Then they ask question after question after question after question after question after question. I ain't got that kind of patience. There's no way that I'm finna do that. You can do that, but you're creating the problem for me. You see what I'm saying? When you do what you do, you create a problem for me. Because you letting that shit live and it's supposed to be dead. You kill it right there, bro, and you move on. That's why they continue to grow legs. That's why they had a following that they have, bro, because people are approaching this shit wrong. Like, really, a lot of the Abo shit already been corrected 5 years ago on MBK channel. And the Mossy and Kofi Paisai research team. We already went through this spat with the Abos. That's why we know that they ain't progressed any further than where they were 5 years ago. Because it's the same arguments that they had 5 years ago. They don't have no new evidence. They don't have any new arguments. They don't have any. They don't have anything tangible to evolve from. They're in the same place they was 5 years ago, bro. The same place, meaning that their learning capacity has not evolved. It's a clique. It is a cult. It is just a following. They ain't got nothing to stand on. They have nothing that's substantial to grow and develop. There's no new science that can support them. There's no new history that can substantiate them in it. There's no linguistic work that would provide adequate attention. There's nothing. There's no anthropology. There's no paleontology. There's no archaeology. There's no geography, no geology. There's none of that shit. None of it. So what are we doing? Y'all letting the motherfuckers grow legs sitting on that panel. Because you want to give them that. That's the dangers of giving them that, brother. That's why you can't give them nothing. You can't give them nothing. When they say that shit, you kill it. And the reason you kill it is so it can't grow legs, because they remember they got an audience. So if you're on the panel, the expectations from me for you is that if you're on the panel with them motherfuckers, is that you kill it, because guess what's going to happen? Them 100 or 200 people in the panel, they're going to regurgitate that dumbass shit that the motherfucker said. And then that information is going to grow legs. And then we're going to have hell trying to kill the claim because y'all let that motherfucker be born while y'all was on the panel. I'm just saying, bro. That's how this shit works. Yeah, this game over, yo. Lakers was in 6 the whole time, man. They wasn't gonna get the gentleman's sweep. They wasn't gonna sweep them. They wasn't gonna get the gentleman's sweep. It was gonna be one of those games where it was gonna be 6 games. Lakers progress. And Phoenix is out of it, so it's gonna be the Lakers versus Denver. And the way Denver playing right now, the Lakers are going to have some struggles defensively because they can't. They playing a team. Golden State ain't nothing but trying to shoot threes. But Golden State really is not out of it because they can hit 5 threes. If they get 5 stops and make 5 threes, it's a tie ball game. What we talking about? So it's just one of those games, yo. The Lakers got to make shots. And as long as the Lakers are making shots and Golden State is missing shots, it's over. They better make it. Nah, don't pass them the ball no more. All right, so look, man. Man, I look forward to, hearing what the hell they were talking about. But I appreciate everybody tapping in, and make sure y'all check this out later. I'll be back on the Mossy, maybe tomorrow.
Anytime that we in VIP, they say the zoo in town. Turkey sellers, fences going wild, yeah, doing clowns. Monkey niggas talking shit, I can make them see. Have my Africans eat his face like he's some bushmeat. Animals, we animals, nah, we ain't playing fair. Dog show, got 20 pretty bitches prancing over here, sweating like a dog, and I need my H2O. I'ma grab your ass and tip you good they got that monkey loose. She fuck gorillas, we gorillas, then you and your monkey crew.